Hey, this is Richard Martinez with the Rise Academy, and here I am on the topic of change. Change is coming. Change is always on its way. Change is always here. Change is always happening. We can't avoid change, but yet so many people have a hard time with it. There's a lot of different kind of common reactions when it comes to change. Here's a few. Like here's one, denial, right? A lot of times people will want to be in denial about the change. Like even if the change is announced, they they begin to tell themselves like, I don't believe this is really necessary. Like, this change is not necessary, and they start to go into denial about it, or they're even like reluctant to listen, or they begin to deny like facts and information that actually support the change being good. They'll like actually avoid it. They will, deny the facts and the information that say that it's going to be good. They just kind of go into denial, right? But a big part of this is, it's a fear. um, but the truth is, like, we don't have to deny the change. We have to be able to face it, if we really want to grow. But denial is a very common, reaction to change. Another one is resistance. So resistance, this is where people, this stems from fear of the unknown. Like when they don't know how the event is going to go or how it's going to turn out, or what's going to happen if I do this. Of course, there's a little resistance going on in there because we don't know, what the results are going to be. So there's some resistance, and that's not always bad. There's actually a very good part of resistance. When you think about it, what does resistance do for you? Like for an example, have you ever worked out? We build muscle and strength on some level when you have resistance, right? Like you are adding, weight. You're pushing against something over and over to be able to build the strength. So this is a part of that resistance. It's the same thing when we're growing. um, when there's growth in some kind of skill that we're developing, that we're practicing, there is like this resistance in us that we're pushing against. We're doing it over and over and over. There's a level of discomfort. There's some level of, pain, sacrifice involved in growth, in this resistance, right? So even though change doesn't always feel good, it definitely builds character. It definitely builds strength. And it's in that transition that we're learning and building. But, resistance is one of the reactions that we have, right? But it's not always bad. Denial, resistance. Another one is anger. People are angry, right? Where they're like, when something happens, it uproots them from their norm, like what they're used to, what they're comfortable with. And a lot of times people react in anger. They can experience anger inside of them, and they can even lash out. They can become uncooperative, during the time of the change, of the transition. They just become very, like, and make it not only hard on themselves, but everybody else around them. Um, it scares people. There's uncertainty, and that's one of the human needs that we have, is this sense of certainty, sense of control. But when this change happens, a lot of times it breaks that certainty, and we feel like, I don't know what we're going to do. And a one common reaction is anger. That's one of the things that people do often when they're scared. They use anger as a defense mechanism to protect themselves or make them feel a sense of control again, because they don't feel in control when there's that change going on. But that's another reaction. Another one is indifference. This is where people just may not care, or it doesn't really have a big impact on their lives or routines or anything like that, so they just don't really care. And so there's individuals that indifference is, it's something where they're like not willing to accept the change, but they just don't really understand it. They're just like, whatever. But that's one of the reactions that is common: indifference. So, and the last one I want to talk about is acceptance. This is when, we really have like a better perspective about change, where we start to look past, the problem or whatever's going on, and we have like a better hope. We have, like, something's good going to come out of this. We have an inward leverage in ourselves where we see the benefits of doing the change, or even seeing the consequences of not making the change. There is this sense of facing it. Not that it's like all uncomfortable or exciting all the time, but there is this acceptance of facing it, and just going for it. So those are some common reactions right there: denial, resistance, anger, indifference, acceptance. But change is coming. There's always going to be different change in your life. So the thing that you want to be able to do is embrace it, learn how to deal with it, learn what goes on inside of you when it's happening. And these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about as we go through this course right here. But this is just a little introduction to change, which, is a big part of your life, and the better you know how to deal with it, the better quality of living you're going to have. Doesn't mean everything's going to be comfortable. And actually, when you know how to deal with that in the best way, you're able to not only enjoy the process where you're not suffering because you're going to go through change anyways, but you're also going to get the most growth out of it. You're going to get the most, squeeze the most, success from there of so many things that you can gain rather than. You can get better instead of getting bitter, right? There's so many things you can gain instead of feel like the world's against you or something. So it's a whole different mindset, a whole different perspective about change because change is good. So, is change good or bad? It's actually what you think it is. It's what you believe it is. If you believe it's going to be bad, then yeah, it's going to suck for you. But if you truly believe that it's going to be good, then you know what? It's going to be good for you. Even if it doesn't feel good at first, it's going to end up good. And there's going to be a lot of benefits that you get from it. You know, those things that you you had it happen in your life in your past where you kind of look back and you're like, man, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't go through that. I wouldn't understand or have these certain skills and abilities that I have now that I'm using to be successful. If I didn't go through those things in the past, I probably wouldn't have this. And this is true. When we go through, change, when we have problems, when we have obstacles, when we have, trials, when we have tribulations, when we have struggle, we have risk, we have all these different things that we go through in life. Even though it doesn't feel good, it depends on our perspective on it and how we respond to it. That's going to determine if it really is good or not. So it's our choice. So is change good or bad? It's what you believe it's going to be. So I encourage you to begin to embrace it. Look for change, look for growth, look for, uncertainty and be certain in your gifts, in your abilities, in your ability to figure things out, to solve problems, to endure, to persevere, that you can believe that you're more than enough and all things are possible. When you begin to do that, you begin to have a mindset that is more willing to embrace the change, because if we believe change is bad, we're going to want to avoid it. We're going to have some of those different reactions that I was just talking about of maybe resist, avoid, be in denial, all these different things. So what we want to do is learn how to embrace, how to first change our perspective about it, because if we believe it's going to be bad, then we're programming our brain to avoid it, to not want to be a part of it. And there's a lot of things that you have to go through. You must. There's a lot of changes you must go through. You're going to do it anyways. And you still have a perspective that, man, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Why right now? I don't want to go through this. I don't want to. I don't want to make this change. I wish this didn't happen. Why did this happen to me? Like all these different things we're saying because of the mindset that we have, and we're going to make the change anyways, right? We have no choice, where we have to figure it out. But in the meantime, we're going to suffer, all because of the perspective and mindset that we have, because it's a limited perspective. It's in fear. So our brain has the fight or flight system going on, where it's going to, create, it's going to rob your peace. You're going to suffer, but you're going to do it because you need to do it, but you're going to suffer in the meantime. Stress yourself out. You're not going to enjoy the process. You're not only stress yourself out, but that's going to be brought into other people around you, the people that you love, because you're overflowing with this negative energy, because you're not embracing the change. So I'm telling you, this, your mindset and your perspective of how you look at change, whether it's good or bad, is going to determine the quality of your life, how you succeed and how you treat others, and how you are just going on with this journey of life. And it's all determined on your belief. So change is good. Okay, change is coming, change is good. Without conflict, there can be no change. Without change, there's no growth, there's no happiness, because happiness is attached to it. So we need to learn to embrace it and see it as a really good thing. Change is good. Change. Change has been happening since the beginning. Like, there's no stopping it. It's going to come no matter what. Just think about it. You came into existence through change. Traumatic change, even. It was not fun the whole time. Like, even how you were born and brought into this world, it was through this process of change, this process of development, this process of pain, this process of, nourishment, protection, all these things going on. And it was a big process of change, but it produced life. So just think of this, right? Just think of this with me. Imagine in your mind going to a cemetery. Okay, so I'm sure you've been to one, so you can kind of pull up some images, or if you haven't, maybe you've seen it on TV or on or in a magazine or something. You could pull up some images in your brain. Picture it. You go to a cemetery. So you're walking up, you're looking around. Usually they're really green, right? Like a lot of grass everywhere and all the plots that are in order. And, a lot of times the families go and they clean it around and they usually keep the grass, pretty clean and pretty low and taken care of because people are paying money for those plots. So they take care of it, right? So it looks nice. There's some trees. It's quiet. There's nobody screaming or there's no cars around. There's no bunch of noise. It's usually very quiet. Usually you see some flowers around, bushes, nice trees. Think about it. Everything's in order, peaceful, quiet. But there's no life. There's only death there. But when you think about how you were brought into this world, you were in this womb, right? You were in this womb for 8 to 9 months, and there was this constant change, and you couldn't stop it. This was a part of you developing and growing to become a human being, being brought together in this womb, and there was this constant warmth, this constant nourishment, this constant protection in your mother's womb, developing you, and you were growing into this person. But then 8, 9 months later, what happened? You get pushed and pulled to this small canal, right? Where there's lights, people touching you, there's noise, like it's all these things going on. You're crying, it's traumatic and dramatic. And, the first thing we can do to kind of get that comfort again is to go to our mother's breast where we have that warmth, nourishment, and protection again, this sense of certainty. But all that is a process of change, but life is being born. Not like the cemetery where it's all in order and in peaceful, but there's no life. Someone being born, it's messy, it's loud, it's chaotic, it's painful, but it's producing life. So, if you want to have a high quality of living, you have to embrace life that comes with change and pain and ups and downs and mess. That's a part of it. It's learning how to deal with change. It's when you're stressed, that's the inability to deal with change or to deal with an emotion thing that you're reacting to what's going on externally, and then it's creating a stress internally. It's how you are responding to a person or a situation or something that's going on around you. You're not able to process it, or you don't want to, so it creates a stress. And stress is one of the main, killers out there that put people in the hospital after a long period of time. Stress is one of the main things that kills joy and peace. All these things that you want to, that give you a high quality of living. But when we begin to embrace change and even not try to control, people and things, and let life kind of go and not allow ourselves to suffer or be so attached to things in a way where if they go up and down, we go up and down. Like it's getting a whole different perspective of this change and learning how to embrace it and be anchored in self and knowing who you are and who you are not, so that as you're going through the change, you're not breaking character or doing things that you shouldn't be doing, just to comfort or compensate for how you're feeling. It's really being anchored. And if you're not really accepting change or avoiding it or understanding it, it's going to be really hard. So that's what I want to really talk about change in so many different ways in this course to help you to embrace it, to not just embrace it, but freaking dominate in it, to really, squeeze all the juice out of it so you come out more powerful, more wise, more clear, more excited for life and just enjoying even the process. Or even though if it's not feeling good at the time, it's not really a suffering because you can see past the pain into the potential, into the possibility, because you understand that it's producing life in you. I want to talk about change in different ways for you so you begin to set yourself up in a way where you will win, you will succeed in every area of your life, because so many other people around you are going to be avoiding the change and you are not. So remember, change is a part of producing life. Another common thing, to use illustration, to use visual to use of change is the metamorphosis, right? Transformation is the metamorphosis. When a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, that beautiful, amazing process that so many people talk about this as an illustration there, or a butterfly, symbolizes change, transformation, right, into something beautiful. Not that a caterpillar is not beautiful in its own way, but it's symbolizing a change to something else, right? Something higher, something that can fly and soar and move further and move farther and see more things, as a butterfly. So I want to talk about this illustration too, but maybe in a different way that you've heard it before, because I see something beautiful and a key for us, to really understand change. And when we understand it, when we know what we're standing on, what is under our understanding, we have a more sense of confidence and clarity when things are happening. So it's good to understand this process of change and what's happening so that we can not, be surprised by it, not be caught off guard, not think something's wrong, and just know that this is a normal thing. So when a caterpillar is turning into a butterfly, it's going to show us. So I'm going to pull out some key things here. So at first it begins to go into this thing called a chrysalis. It's like that little cocoon thing that you're seeing right there, right? It's a little chrysalis, and while it's in there, it's actually beginning to turn into like a liquid, right? And it's actually what it's doing. It's killing off what it no longer needs, what's no longer going to serve it for this next phase that's going to go in its life. Does that make? Let me say that again. So it's turning into a liquid, and what it's doing is it's killing off self, parts of itself, parts of its old self, part of what it no longer needs, parts of what's no longer serving him, parts of what's no longer, going to help him to go into this next phase. He was killing it off. Think about that. There's a lot of times that we're not willing to cut certain things off, whether it's habits, behaviors, the way we talk, things that we're doing in our life, things that we're watching, whatever it is. We're not willing to cut things off when they're not serving us, when they're not in alignment with who we want to become, with where we want to be. And what we need to know is that if you really want to transform into something higher and greater that can go further and see more things, there is a killing of self in a way, in certain behaviors and desires and things that are not serving you anymore. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself about that. Otherwise, it robs your own personal peace, and you can hide it on the outside and say, "Oh no, you don't care," but you know in your heart. So it's good to be real with that in your heart, in your gut, and let it kind of check you, so you know, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm better than this, and know that there's reasons where that comes from. When you start doing those things that you know you shouldn't be doing, but you keep doing them, that's a symptom of something else. You are compensating for some needs that are not getting met. So all you need to do is not try to resist doing those things you know you shouldn't be doing anymore. It's really finding the root and knowing the why you're doing that, why you're reacting that way, why you're, having to do those certain things that you know is not good for you. Like, why do you keep doing? You're compensating. You're reacting to something that is deeper inside of you, and it's when you begin to deal with those things at a root, then you'll have some, real true transformation. Because transformation comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. True transformation, lasting transformation. You can, of course, there's both that are going on. We have to change external habits and certain things, or even how we're dressed, or how we look. Certain things we can change externally, but that's short term stuff, right? And if we do that along with the stuff internally, which is the most important thing, that's where the most change is going to happen. And this is a part of that transition of killing self off, some things off that are no longer serving us. And sometimes that involves you forgiving some people in the past because you're holding that and it's not serving you anymore. You're holding this grudge, this anger against somebody or even against yourself, and it's a part of your past. It no longer exists. It's not serving who you are today. And just the fact that it's bothering you, it shows that you know that you're better than that. So there is a certain conviction there. So that's already good news. So take that as good news that you're not that person anymore and begin to move forward. Forgive yourself. Forgive that other person who hurt you or did something wrong, whether it's, a very, very, very bad thing. And if it's something happened like that to you, I'm sorry, but forgive them. And it's not because for them. It doesn't mean that you're saying it's okay anymore either, but it's for you. Because if you're holding forgiveness against somebody, you're going to be slave to that person. You're going to be enslaved. They're going to be like a ball and chain, and you're going to be trying to move forward in your life, and they're holding you back. They're weighing you down. They're making you try harder, or they become these triggers inside of you, these buttons. And when somebody does something or says something, or maybe even looks like that person around you, it begins to hit that button. It triggers you, and you get defensive. You get reactive. You get afraid. You get this fight or flight thing going on, and that shows that you are a slave to them. So forgive. Not for them, for you. And this is the part of that killing that self off, right? Inside, a part of that metamorphosis, that part of transformation. And then we need to not just get rid of those things or get rid of those behaviors, but we need to create new ones, new mindset, new behaviors, new habits, new perspectives, new ways of living, and integrate it so much, be consistent with it so much that it becomes a part of our lifestyle, a part of who we are, to where now we're not even trying to do it anymore. Now we're just being, which is true transformation. So this is the transformation, thing that I'm talking about when this metamorphosis, this caterpillar into the butterfly. Now there's one more part that I want to talk about. And this part that maybe you haven't heard is it's when it starts to, it already cut everything else off, right? That it doesn't need. Now it's starting to develop something new. That's the new perspectives, the new mindset, the new ways of living, right? It needs to create new tools, new skills, new abilities. So there's a learning and education involved there. And this is the wings being sprouted, right? But just the knowledge in itself of the wings being sprouted, okay, I have this. If you just have the knowledge, if you just learn, went to courses, read books, if you just have it in your head, it's as good as the wings are without the doing it, without the struggle of doing it. Now, let me explain. So, when there's a butterfly and it's created the wings now, right? This is the knowledge. Now it needs to get out of this chrysalis. It needs to break out of it. So it needs to struggle. It's getting the wings and starting to try to push out and rip it open. And there is a struggle that's involved there. There is a doing. There is an executing. There is a behavior. There is an action. There is something that is happening there, where constant over and over and over. And it's a struggle, but it's building muscle. It's building the strength that it needs to be able to fly in this next transition of its life. And if it wasn't for that struggle, it wouldn't be able to fly. So think about that. When you have the knowledge, when you learn something, you have to go do it. And yeah, you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be struggle when you're doing it. And yeah, it might be scary. It's uncomfortable. Of course, you never done it before. You never done it to that level before. But this is the part of the struggle that's so key and vital, so essential for you to be able to fly in this next phase of your life, for you to be able to be successful in this next phase of your life, for you to be able to handle this next phase of your life. That struggle, that's a part of the transition. So get these images from the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, and this process of you going into this cocoon, being real with yourself, looking within, not blaming anybody outwardly, and begin to kill off what you don't need and it's not serving you anymore. And begin to create knowledge, new skills, new things. But then there's a doing, a struggle, and an application, applying, going for it so that you can begin to build a strength and you will begin to fly and go further and farther and see more things in your life. Now, here's another way I want to talk about change, transition. Change is transition, right? You're going from one place to another, right? Like I was here, now I'm going there. That's change. Or I had to do it this way, now I have to do it that way. That's change. I was doing this and now I need to stop. There's change. I wasn't doing this. I need to start doing it. That's change. There is a transition going on there. There is a gap. And another way I like to describe change is like when there's the trapeze artist. That when they're flying, they're not flying. They're swinging. It seems like they're flying too because they're letting each other go and they're actually flying across from one person to another, being caught as the other one's upside down on this big swing, right? Trapeze artist, it's amazing. And just think about it, like a lot of people are dealing with their life. We're dealing with transitions and change, like like trapeze artists. Think about it. Like, say you're holding on to one, right? You're not upside down like that, but you hold it on with your hands and you're just kind of swinging, right? You're like, you hold it on tight. You have some gloves on. You have a good grip, and you're like, all right, I got this. So you start to swing a little higher, right? Yeah, I got you start swinging higher, and maybe you take a little break and you get back on, and you start getting more comfortable on it, and you're swinging. You're able to swing pretty high now, and able to stop and stop and slow down, and you're good at it, right? Just holding on to one, just swinging by yourself. Now you're comfortable. But now there's that next level where you need to swing and let go and catch on to the next one. That's like the next step for you to grow in this trapeze artistry, right? And this skill of being a trapeze artist. So now you're on it, you're being comfortable with it. And this is how you learn, right? This is like life. This is us growing in life, transitions in life. Sometimes we're learning a new skill, we're in a new position in life, we have a new, job, or maybe we have a child, or maybe there's something new going on in our life, and it's different than where we were. And where we were, we got comfortable with it, we were good, we kind of had, you know kind of getting used to it, whether it was good or bad, we kind of getting used to it. So there is a change that happens, we kind of feel a little awkward, a little insecure, a little afraid, a little anxiety. Even though there might be some excitement too, there is just still some sense of unknowing, just like when you let go of that bar, of that pole, of that, the trapeze, this swing. When you have to let go, there is that gap in the middle where you're in the air, that unknowing, like, oh my gosh, I hope there is a net under me, because you've already been comfortable enough on this one swing. And if you want to experience life, if you want to grow and be successful and get better in things, in certain areas of your life, we have to not just get comfortable on this one swing. Yeah, we can do all kinds of tricks there and learn new things, of course, right? But we have to get to the point where we can let go and go to the next one and get comfortable on this one too. And there's this whole transition, and it takes, first you need to get clarity, and you start to practice and you do it, right? And you start to get more comfortable and confident with it. And then you need to, get to that next step where you're afraid, but you know what? You get more clarity. Okay, how am I going to do this? You start to get clear, okay? And you start to commit to doing it. And then you're not full confident yet, but you have this courage. You have this courage that even though you have this fear is going to go with you. So you develop this courage and you say, I'm going to go for it. And you let go. And maybe you miss the first time, or maybe you catch it, and maybe you barely catch it, whatever it is, but you keep doing it over and over and over again. You begin to develop a confidence, a more of a capability first, where you're like, oh, you catch it more often. Boom, you're getting more comfortable. And before you feel confident, you're going to start to build this capability. And that means that you have to do it. You have to keep letting go and jumping to that next swing. You have to keep, developing yourself and doing new things. This is a part of you dominating change, you winning in life, because, life comes with change. And change comes with conflict. It comes with gaps. It comes with these transitions, these things that we have to come out of our comfort zone and begin to let go to go to this next part. So there is this gap going on that we have to learn how to embrace. It's this, okay, now I'm here and I want to get over there. So there is this gap in the middle, and we have to learn how to live in that gap. Because when you start thinking more about this gap, do you want to stay real comfortable on that one swing? Or do you want to be constantly in the middle of where you used to be and where you want to go? Think about that one. Because if you're just stuck on where you are, soon enough it's where you used to be, if that makes sense. Because life keeps going forward, things and people keep advancing. If you just keep staying in one place, you're actually going backwards, you're actually falling behind. Does that make sense? So think about that. When do you really want to stay comfortable in this spot, or do you want to keep yourself in this transition, in this gap, rather than on each one of these poles? Like, I don't want to be fully where I want to go, I want to be in the middle, because it keeps the pressure. You're thankful that you're not where you used to be, that you're going forward, but you're also content where you are. But then you're also have this expectancy of where you're going in this next phase of your life, where there's going to be more growth. So mentally you're kind of always in this middle, Well, you're not allowing yourself to get comfortable in this one place, and you keep developing yourself. You keep putting yourself out there. You're constantly putting yourself in this transition place where you're growing and transitioning and moving forward and advancing in life and dominating. This is you developing this muscle in you that says, you know what? Yes, I can. I can do all things. All things are possible, and I am more than enough. All things are possible, and I am more than enough. And whether what kind of change, what kind of problem, what kind of obstacle comes my way, I have the ability to figure it out. And yes, I might not like it. Yes, it might not be a good time. Yes, I might be afraid. Yes, it might hurt. But I know that's a part of life being born. It's a part of me transitioning to this next place. So I'm going to face it. I'm going to develop myself and begin to let go and embrace the gap. Right? Trapeze artists. Another illustration of change. And remember, change is good. All right, so let's have one more illustration, then I'll close it up. Talking about change. This course is about bringing different perspectives about change so that when you get into this conflict, when you get into facing change in your life, you win, right? Because life is a battle, life is a fight. We have to fight a good fight of this thing of change, and we have to be able to position ourselves to win. And this is all about the mindset, having the right mindset, understanding about the change so that we can put ourselves in a successful winning position, right? So when change comes, you will believe that change is good, and when you believe change is good, you're going to win. So you ready to win some more? So let's talk about one more thing. This is kind of the process of change. It's the universal process of change, of how it happens, how it works. I'm going to share it in a way where you can see it very practical in your life, and how it's, it's like the 5 laws of life where it applies to everything. Okay, so there's 5 laws. There's 5 things that come with change, that come with life. These are life laws. And change is a part of life. So I want to, really end this course with something, even more practical for you, not just illustrations, but something practical of these 5 things that you can even begin to write down. 5 laws of life. First, there's an abundance. That's number one, abundance. And what do I mean by that? There's an abundance of everything. There's an abundance of information, of people, of places to live, places to work, people to be with, food to eat, information to consume, movies to watch. There's an abundance, right? So that's law one. Law two is free will. Now, you have the free will. This is your ability to choose to decide what you want to do, who you want to do it with, where you want to do it, how long you want to do it, what you want to eat, what you want to wear, how you want to have it. These are decisions from your free will. So you have that power, that ability to choose. This is a law of life. So number one, abundance. Two, free will. You're able to decide and choose out of that abundance, right? Now, that will lead us to number three, because as you begin to decide and choose what you're going to consume, what you're going to be around, let's just take for food for an example. Like you're going to, out of all the foods, you're going to choose what you're going to eat, right? Now, what you eat, you heard of that, you are what you eat. So what you consume is going to be integrated into who you are. Okay? So number one is abundance, two is free will, three is integration. So you choose whatever you're choosing, the people that you're choosing to be around, you're integrating them into your life, and they're going to influence you. Okay? They're going to do something to you. You're integrating them into your life. If you eat food, you're choosing to eat food out of the abundance, and you're integrating it into your physical body. Information that you consume. Out of the abundance, you choose what information, what books, what courses you're going to integrate into your mindset, right? So number one, abundance. Number two, free will. Number three is your integration. Number four is transformation. Because what you choose to integrate into yourself, into your life, into your surroundings will transform you. Good or bad. Whatever you choose to integrate out of the abundance, good or bad, is going to transform who you are. Now that leads us to the last one, which is influence, because now through who you are, you're going to influence and impact the world around you and the people in it. Number one, abundance. Number two, free will. Number three, integration. Number four, transformation. 5, influence. So this is when you're dealing with change. If you want to change and transform better in your life in a new way, you have to have this understanding. This is how it happens. These are the 5 laws of life, 5 laws of change. You have decisions to make of what you're going to integrate into your life. And whatever you choose to integrate into your life will begin to transform who you are as a person, good or bad. And through who you now become, you're going to influence and impact and create, your future. You're going to impact the people around you all through who you now have become. So be more conscious of this. Be more intentional in your living when you begin to go through change. When you're going, when you're being around others, how you're treating others. Like be more intentional. Live more on purpose. Speak on purpose. Do on purpose. Know where you're going and why you're going there, because now you have these 5 laws of life, understanding that what I integrate, what I begin to choose to do will transform me, and I will impact the world around me. I will create my future through who I am becoming. The 5 laws of life. So understand that when you're going through change is coming. There is some rules that happen with it that will help you. These principles, these laws that I just shared with you, that will help you to be more successful, more intentional. Because it's one thing to have good intentions, to like, oh yeah, I'll deal with change. I'm gonna believe it. It's one good thing. It's a good thing to have good intentions, but it's a whole other thing to intentionally live, to actually apply this stuff, and actually understand. You know what? I'm gonna be more intentional in what I choose to speak, to say, to think, to eat, to what I'm going to be around, because I know that's going to transform me. So I'm going to create my own life starting from the inside, knowing that my inward reality will create my outward reality, knowing that it all starts in my mindset, my thoughts, and my emotional state, and I'm in control of it. I'm responsible for how I feel. It's not anybody else. I'm not giving that power to anybody else, because I'm a powerful person. And a powerful person is able to manage his own emotional place where he doesn't need other people to make them happy or motivated. They're able to generate their own energy, and actually out of their overflow can give that to other people. It's somebody who leads themselves, who takes care of themselves, who eats well, exercises, all these different things. That's a powerful person, and I want to encourage you to do that in your life and embrace the change and learn how to set yourself up for success by applying some of these things that I'm sharing. So again, I'm Richard Martinez, and remember that change is good. All right, guys, Richard Martinez here again. Just wanted to thank you for going through this course. Let me know what you thought about it. Give me some comments. Maybe make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Push the bell there so that way when I put new content, because I'm always going to be putting different types of content up here for you. Always adding value, always helping practical, always helping you with some things in your life, giving you different perspectives, different ways of looking at things, because I believe when you begin to do that, develop yourself, you're going to win. So thank you for being allowing me to be a part of your journey, to giving me your time here, because I know time is valuable, and just the fact that you went through this, I really honor it. So thank you guys for going through this. Remember, change is good. I'm Richard Martinez with the Rise Academy. Remember, go to all my other content. So you can go to Instagram on It's Richard Martinez, on Facebook It's Richard Martinez 1, and here on YouTube. So thanks a lot.